What's going on, everybody? Today we are taking a look at the top 10 scariest Disney villains. Before we hop in, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Hit that like button down below. It really does help the channel out. And be sure to leave a comment for the next top 10 daily rankings that you want to see. All right, let's do it. Kicking things off at number 10, we've got Scar from The Lion King. Scar is one of the most well-known Disney villains, and he's kicking off our list for one reason and one reason only. He was not afraid to kill his older brother, Mufasa. Definitely brings a scary component to the character, and even went as far as to thinking he also killed his nephew, Mufasa's son, Simba, as well. However, Scar did eventually meet his demise at the end of the movie by his nephew, Simba, as well as the hyenas who he had planned on betraying. The fight scene between Simba and Scar at the end of The Lion King is one of my favorite Disney scenes of all time. It really brings the movie to an incredible climax. Scar definitely put up a valiant fight against Simba, however, he did eventually meet his end. Number 9, Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. Maleficent is definitely one of the most well-known villains, along with Scar, from the entire Disney franchise. Although Maleficent is much older than Scar, having originally appeared in Disney's 1959 Sleeping Beauty, Maleficent was the incarnation of pure evil and is responsible for all the misfortune in the entire kingdom. She even goes as far as to curse Princess Aurora to die by pricking her finger on a spinning wheel spindle before the sun sets on her 16th birthday. One of the biggest reasons I'm including Maleficent on this list is for one reason and one reason only. She can shape-shift into a dragon. Yes, a dragon. She also self-describes her own skills as all the powers of hell. Now, I don't know about you, but if someone tells me that their powers encompass all the powers of hell, I ain't going anywhere near that person. Number 8, Dr. Facilier, the Princess and the Frog. At first glance, Dr. Facilier might not seem as scary as maybe a dragon like Maleficent or even a lion like Scar. What Dr. Facilier possesses in scariness is not necessarily in physical stature, but his capabilities and what he is more commonly known as the Shadow Man. In what is one of the iconic songs of the Princess and the Frog movie, Friends on the Other Side, indicates that this guy's definitely got some friends in low places, if you know what I'm saying. He may seem like just a charismatic showman, however, Facilier is cruel and sadistic, having no qualms by terrorizing innocent civilians as a mean to reach his own goals, and often relying on manipulating them with false promises to achieve these goals. Lastly, Dr. Facilier was not afraid to do the worst deed of all. In the climax of the movie, he ends up killing Ray the lightning bug. However, Tiana eventually prevails in the fight when Dr. Facilier's friends from the other side arrive to collect his soul as punishment for his failure. I don't know about you, but anything that involves demons and these friends on the other side and shadow creatures, definitely deserving of a spot on the 10 scariest Disney villains. At number 7, Hades, Hercules. Let's just start off with this with Hades. He is the god of the underworld. Simply being the god of the underworld may make Hades deserving of a spot on this list on its own. However, there's much more malevolence to this character that makes him even more so deserving of a spot. Having learned from the fates of his eventual takeover of Mount Olympus, Hades plotted to dispose of Hercules. Hades knew immediately that his newborn nephew, Hercules, could cause issues with his plans and sought to eliminate the problem immediately. Hades' first act with his nephew is sending his 2 lackeys, Pain and Panic, to feed baby Hercules a potion that would render him mortal and kill him. Later in life, he has Meg, a damsel in distress, lure Hercules into a fixed contest in facing the Hydra, as Hades watches every second of the battle excitedly, as the man destined to defeat him struggles under the attacks, only for the monster to be buried in a rock slide and Hercules emerge victorious, which frustrates Hades even more. And I don't know about you, but look at this picture here. As a child, whenever Hades got mad, I hid behind the couch. His other powers include immortality, fire manipulation, telekinesis, and dominion over the dead. He is, after all, Lord of the Underworld. Finally, like our other 3 villains we've already mentioned on this list, Hades was willing to do the unspeakable, which is ultimately what lands him a place at number 7. Number 6, Sabor, Tarzan. In what is our first character appearing on this list that has no speaking lines in the movie, Sabor is a dangerous, aggressive, ferocious, and powerful leopard who is well known throughout the jungle. Sabor was also known in the jungle to have never backed down from a fight. In what is one of the more heartbreaking scenes of any Disney movie, Sabor kills the infant son of Kerchak and Kala, as well as both of Tarzan's parents, and fought Kala over the infant Tarzan, although Kala manages to escape with him as a baby. Sabor is our first character on this Scariest Disney Villains list who has no agenda and isn't really conniving, but is just a ferocious and ruthless killer. Sporting an insanely sharp pair of teeth, Sabor and Tarzan have one of the most epic battles of any Disney movie. Sabor's menacing snarl and ruthlessness easily land her a place at number 6. Number 5, the evil queen, Snow White. Much like Maleficent and Sleeping Beauty, who possessed the ability to transform into a dragon, the evil queen also possessed the ability to shapeshift by means of magic. However, rather than turning into a dragon, she simply turned into an old hag. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can you possibly put an old hag over Maleficent in the form of a dragon, right? Wrong. Let me tell you why. As a child, this movie gave me more nightmares than any movie I've ever seen. I debated about even putting this one on the list, as some people may not find it scary. Look at this face. How are you not supposed to have a nightmare looking at this face? Look at this one. How creepy is this? As for the character herself, she was also willing to go the ultimate distance of killing Snow White in order to become the fairest in the land. She is the original Disney villain and takes much of her resemblance and design based off the hags in early European illustrations of fairy tales. In particular, illustrations from Hansel and Gretel were especially used in the making of the Queen. You know how we all have childhood monsters? This was mine, and it lands her a spot at number 5 on the list. Number 4, Chernabog, Fantasia. Chernabog was the living embodiment of terrifying. Chernabog was based off the god of the night from Slavic mythology. He emerges in the night at the peak of Bald Mountain to summon all of his minions who dance furiously in tribute before being thrown into the mountain's fiery pits. As the demons dance around him, he even grins maliciously. Deems Taylor, the composer for Fantasia, described Chernabog as being the representation of pure evil. Most of our villains on the list up to this point have had some sort of tragic backstory or motive for their evil actions. However, Chernabog is really just evil for the fun of it. Depicted as a ruthless monster and feared by all who come into contact with him, he is one of the most powerful Disney villains ever created for that reason. Number 3, Shan Yu, Mulan. Shan Yu was the evil leader of the Han army, responsible for mass genocide and general havoc across the entire country of China. With the Great Wall built to deter the Han invaders, Shan Yu views this as a challenge and declares war on His Majesty the Emperor with the intent of taking over the country. Shan Yu possesses an eerie grin, a ruthless mentality, and most of all is not above killing his enemies in cold blood to prove that strength. Shan Yu is also shown to be merciless even to the defenseless individuals, as evidenced by his murderous smirk when he suggests that he return a lost doll to its owner. Shan Yu is also supremely confident in both his and his army's strength and superiority, sometimes allowing his enemies to have an advantage in order for him to defeat them anyway and prove his might. Shan Yu is largely based off the real-life figure Attila the Hun, and if we're equating Attila the Hun's ruthlessness to Shan Yu's, Attila is known to have massacred approximately 3 million civilians during his 8-year reign. As Shan Yu also showed in Mulan, he was not afraid to take the life of the innocent, ultimately placing him as one of the scariest Disney villains and at number 3 on this list. Number 2, Carnotaur's Dinosaur. Yeah, you didn't see this one coming, did you? And what is perhaps my favorite villain on this list? The Carnotaurs from Disney's 2000 beloved movie Dinosaur definitely deserve a spot on this list. The word Carnotaur literally means meat-eating bull. Much like Sabor from Tarzan, the Carnotaurs also possess no regard for life and are vicious and murderous animals. While the Carnotaurs might have no real malicious intent like some of the other characters on our list, they are extremely vicious, dangerous, bloodthirsty, and the most feared of the dinosaurs. Ema, one of the other dinosaurs in the movie, describes them as a mouthful of teeth with a bad attitude. Standing tall on 2 legs with reddish scales, a long tail, sharp teeth, and short horns, the 2 Carnotaurs serve as the film's main antagonists and are definitely not to be trifled with. Before we reveal the number 1 scariest Disney villain, here's a couple of honorable mentions who almost made the list. Number 1. Claude Frollo, Hunchback of Notre Dame. While Claude Frollo may not appear sinister on the outside, it is the heavy thematic elements that surround him, such as religion, lust, and genocide, that mark him as the most complex and darkest of all the Disney villains. He was a powerful Parisian justice minister who, after a series of sensitive circumstances, became the begrudged caretaker of the deformed Quasimodo. Apart from his political obligations, Claude Frollo was also a religious zealot with an intolerance for sinners, believing the Romani people, also known as gypsies in the film, to be the most heinous of the bunch, and therefore dedicated 20 years of his life to getting rid of them. Frollo's self-imposed mission drives him to perform inhumane acts of violence, all the while using his loyalty to God as his justification. The self-righteous Frollo repeatedly refuses to find faults within himself, declaring himself much purer than the common weak crowd, and above the biblical doctrine that all men are equally sinful, confirming him as a narcissist. Finally, in what definitely lands him in the number 1 spot, Frollo was first seen murdering gypsies near the riverbank at the beginning of the movie. When one gypsy who was Quasimodo's mother ran away from him, he chased her in order to get the baby to kill it. The plan was going to succeed until one of the priests stopped him and told him that if the baby won't be claimed by him, he will die and have to pay with his soul. If it weren't for the priest who saved the life of young Quasimodo, I have no doubt that Judge Frollo would have gone through with his plan to kill the baby. In addition to a blatant disregard for human life, ultimately it's Claude Frollo's complex, twisted character and his relationship with his faith and his morals that land him at the number 1 spot as the scariest Disney villain of all time. Thanks for watching this video. Remember to subscribe down below and hit that bell to be notified when the next Today's Rankings video goes live. Leave it a like and comment down below. What do you want to see us rank next on Today's Rankings? Thanks. This has been Ben for Today's Rankings. Have a great day.